Good day, audience. Today we're going to be talking about making model sheets. Model sheets are the skeleton of a drawing. Professional artists can go without them. But if you're new at art, or if you're not very good at posing or proportions, it's always a good idea to start with a model sheet. And I always start my model sheets very simply with a stick figure. I use an oval for the hips, and a straight line to distinguish the shoulders, and otherwise it's a normal stick figure. Now, I do this because spending just 5 minutes deciding if I like a pose or not with a stick figure is a lot easier than spending hours on a drawing and then deciding that I don't like it. A stick figure is something I'm happier to get rid of than a drawing that otherwise is very nice, but I don't like the pose. Here's a few examples of poses. As you can see, very simple. You don't have to do it exactly like me, but it's a good place to start. Using circles to mark where the joints are. This is a more dynamic pose. Can you guess what it is? It's a ballet pose. Isn't that nice? Next is to decide the flow. Static poses like this one may be good for reference sheets, but they're not very good for showing off your character's personality or, showing that your character has life. Now if I just tilt the shoulders a little, and I make one leg bend a little, you see that the character has a lot more personality, even in just a stick figure. But you can take dynamics too far. Don't overdo it. Now, here's an example of overdoing it. You have your shoulder and your hip all off, and you've got your arms going in opposite directions, and you've got your legs going in opposite directions, and bent, and it just doesn't look right. So, try not to be too static, and don't flail your arms around and your body parts around like a crazy person. Next is to define the body. I always suggest defining the body before the limbs because usually the limbs end up covering part of the trunk of the body. And if you draw the limbs and then you draw the body, sometimes it ends up looking unnatural. You can tell that they drew the body after they drew the arms, and it just looks wrong. So if you do it this way, you can draw over it, and you'll still have this, and everything will still be proportional. And everything will look natural. Oh, and remember, don't over-define, because this is still an underdrawing. You don't have to worry about completing the drawing just yet. Now I did a little sketchy for the legs and the arms, so I knew what I was doing. And now you can actually draw the arms first, because you can still see the trunk and you know what the trunk looks like. And it just turns out better this way. Everything looks like it belongs. Drawing the hands in front of her. Still, don't over-define at this stage. Just lightly define. Start drawing the legs. Making the knees a little thinner. I think I made them too fat. I think I'll bend this leg out a little. Give her a little bit more dynamic pose. Make her look a little girlier. You should remember what leg is holding the weight. In this case, it's her right leg. It's the one that's straight towards the ground, so it's the one holding the weight. So it has to be flat on the ground. The foot has to be flat on the ground. While the other one looks like it's just her toe touching the ground, her heel is slightly lifted. And then we add on the head. Alright, so we have that done. Next thing to do is to clean it and check the proportions. See, I'm making sure the upper arm and the lower arm are equal. The lower arm can be a little longer. Same with the legs. The calf can be a little bit longer than the thigh, but not too much longer. Checking that the elbows reach the navel and the wrists reach the groin area. And that when I measure this, it's good. From hip to knee and from knee to chest works good. Proportions are good. Now I'm going to overdraw it again. You don't have to overdraw it as many times as I do. I just like to because it makes the drawing look cleaner to me. And I get a little bit more defined every time I draw it. Make the legs a little bigger. Usually it only takes me about an hour to go from stick figure to model sheet, and then it takes another 3 or 4 hours from model sheet to finished product. If I was just going to draw lines, coloring takes more time, of course. And there you go. You draw your character on top of the model sheet, just like this. The reason I don't show the steps between the model sheet and the finished product is I don't want to influence your individual style. That's something you should develop on your own. But now you can see how to make a model sheet. Are there any questions? Please comment and I will answer.